Astrogan, a retired Army officer, lived in Petersburg in 1860-something, leading a life of dissipation in which I found no pleasure. At that time, I had 3 lodgings during a certain period. In one of them, I lived myself, in furnished rooms with board and service. Maria Levitkina, my lawful wife, also lived there at the time. My other 2 lodgings I rented by the month to accommodate my 2 mistresses. In one I received a high society woman who was in love with me, and in the other her maid. And for some time I toyed with the idea of bringing the 2 of them together, so that the society woman and her servant girl should meet each other in my rooms. While secretly making all the necessary arrangements for that meeting, I had to visit more often one of the 2 lodgings in a large house in Grokhovaya Street, for that was a place where I and the maid used to meet. I had only one room there on the 4th floor, which I rented from some Russian working-class people. They themselves lived in the next room, which was much smaller. So much so that the door dividing the 2 rooms was always open, which was what I wanted. The husband, who was working at some office, was away from morning till night. His wife, a woman about 40, used to cut up old clothes and refashion them into new. And she used to leave the house quite often to deliver her sewing. I remained alone with her daughter, quite a child in appearance. Her name was Matryoshka. Her mother loved her, but often chastised her. And as customary with these people, shouted at her a lot. This little girl waited on me and made up my bed behind the screen. I declare that I've forgotten the number of the house, having made some inquiries recently. I know now that the old house was pulled down and a new and very large house was built on the side of 2 or 3 houses. I've also forgotten the name of my landlord. I may have never known it at the time. The flat was in the courtyard. It all happened in June. The house was painted in a light blue color. One day I missed my penknife. I did not want it at all. It was just lying about there. I told my landlady about it without thinking that she would thrash her daughter for it. But she had been screaming at her daughter for the loss of some rags, and had even pulled her hair. But when the rags were found under the tablecloth, the little girl did not utter a word of complaint, but just looked on in silence. It was then that I saw for the first time the little girl's face. She had flaxen hair and a freckled face, quite an ordinary face, but it had a great deal of childishness in it, and it was very gentle, quite extraordinarily gentle. Her mother resented the fact that her daughter did not complain for having been beaten for nothing, and she made as if to strike her with her fist, but stopped herself in time. It was just then that the subject of my penknife came up. There was no one in the flat beside the 3 of us. The little girl was only one to go behind the screen in my room. The woman flew into a rage for having the first time punished her girl unjustly, rushed up to the bedstand, pulled some twigs out of it, and gave the girl a thrashing in front of me until her body was covered in wheals. That in spite of the fact the girl was already in her 12th year. Matryoshka did not scream while she was being flogged, or because I was there, but she gave a funny sort of sob at each blow. Afterwards, she sobbed bitterly for a whole hour. But before that happened, something else caught my eye. At that very moment, my landlady was rushing up to the bedstand to pull out the twigs. I saw my penknife on the bed, where it must have fallen from the table. It occurred to me at once not to tell them about it, so that she should be thrashed. I made my decision instantly. At such moments, I begin to breathe heavily. But I'm determined to tell everything without flinching, so that nothing should remain concealed any longer. Thrashing over. I put the penknife in my waistcoat pocket, and without uttering a word, left the house and flew away in the street. having first walked a long way so that no one should ever find out. Then I waited 2 days. Having a good cry, the little girl became even more taciturn. Three days later, I returned to Grow High School. The mother was going out somewhere in London. Her husband, of course, was not at home. Natasha and I were alone in the flat. The windows were open. The house was full of workmen all day long, and the sound of hammers and singing could be heard from all the floors. We had already been there for an hour. Natasha sat in a small room on a little bench with her back to me and was busy with her needle. At last, she suddenly began to sing softly, as she often did. I took out my watch and saw that it was 2 o'clock. My heart began to pound. I got up and began stealing toward her. I sat down quietly on the floor beside her. She gave a start and looked terribly frightened and jumped up. I took her hand and kissed it, quietly forced her down on the bench again, and began looking in her eyes. The fact that I kissed her hand suddenly amused her like a child, but only for a second, for she jumped up the next moment. This time she looked so frightened that a spasm. Her eyes were motionless with terror, and her lips began to quiver, as though she were on the verge of tears. But she did not scream all the same. I kissed her hand again and put her on my knee. Then she suddenly drew back and smiled as if ashamed, but with a kind of wry smile. Her face flushed with shame. I whispered to her, all the time, as though drunk. At last, a most strange thing happened to me. Something I shall never forget. Something that quite amazed me. The little girl flung her arms around my neck and all of a sudden started to kiss me anxietingly. Her face expressed complete rapture. I nearly got up and went away. So shocked was I to find this sort of thing in a little creature for whom I suddenly felt pity.
She was embarrassed. I did not try to reassure her and no longer caressed her. She looked at me, smiling timidly. Her face suddenly appeared stupid to me. She was getting more and more embarrassed with every minute that passed. At last, she covered her face with her hands and stood motionless in a corner with her face to the wall. Just as I raised myself on my toes, I recalled that when I sat at the window and looked at the little red spider and then lost count of the time, I had been thinking how I should stand on tiptoe and look through this chain. In putting in a striking detail, I want to prove without a shadow of a doubt to what extent I was clearly in full possession of my mental faculties and how much I'm responsible for everything. I looked through the chain for a long time, for it was very dark there, but not so dark as to prevent me, at last, from seeing what I wanted. At last I decided to leave. I came across an man on the stairs. 3 hours later, we were all drinking tea in our church days in our room and playing with a pack of old cards. All the time I was waiting for something. So it came about that at 11 o'clock, the house boy's little daughter came running from my landlady in Bogayava Street with the news that Natasha had hanged herself. I went with the little girl and saw that the landlady herself did not know why she even sent for me. She wailed and screamed hysterically. There were lots of people and policemen. I remained there for a while and then went away. One spring, traveling through Germany a year ago, I absentmindedly went on past the station where I had to change trains and found myself on the wrong line. I got out at the next station. It was past 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a bright, lovely day. It was a tiny German town. I was shown into a hotel. I had to wait. The next train was not due before 11 o'clock at night. I had an excellent meal, and as I'd been traveling all night, I soon fell sound asleep at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had quite an extraordinary dream. Suddenly, in the center of that bright, bright light, I beheld a tiny point. Suddenly, the point began taking on a kind of shape, and all at once, I could clearly see a tiny red spider. I immediately remembered the red spider on the leaf of the geranium, which is also bathed in rays of the setting sun. I raised myself and fell on my bed. I saw Matryoshka, emaciated with feverish eyes, exactly as she was when she stood on the threshold of my room, and, shaking her head, shook her tiny fist at me. Nothing has ever been so disturbing to me. The pathetic despair of a helpless creature with an unformed mind, threatening me. With what? What could she do to me? Nothing like that has ever happened to me. I sat there till nightfall, without moving and forgetful of the time. I do not know, and I cannot tell to this day, whether this is what is called remorse or repentance. But what I find so unbearable is the image of her standing on the threshold and threatening me with a small raised fist. Just the way she looks at me then, just like shaking of her head. It is this that I cannot stand, for since then, it has appeared to me almost every day. It does not come itself. I myself summon it up, and it cannot help summoning it up, though I cannot live with it. Why then does not any memory of my life arouse me anything like this? I wandered about after that for almost a whole year and tried to find some occupation. I know that I can dismiss Matryoshka from my mind at any time I wish. I'm as much in command of my will as ever, but the whole point is that I never wanted to do so, and I do not want to now. I will go on like that till I lapse into madness. Therefore, I decided to have these pages printed and take 300 copies of them to Russia. When the time comes, I shall send some of them to the police and the local authorities. Simultaneously, I shall send some of them to the editors of all the newspapers with a request to publish them, and to many persons in Petersburg and in Russia who know me. It will also be published abroad in translation. I realize that legally I have nothing to fear, not to any considerable extent at any rate. It is I alone who am informing against myself, for I have no accuser. Besides, there is no evidence against me, or what there is extremely slight. There is finally the prevailing idea that I'm not in my right mind. An idea which I'm quite sure my family will make use of in their efforts to squash any legal prosecution that might be dangerous to me. I make this statement, incidentally, in order to prove that I'm in full possession of my mental faculties and realize my position. So far as I'm concerned, there will remain those who know everything, and they will look at me, and I am them. I don't want everyone to look at me. I fall back on it as my last resource. If a thorough search were made in the records of the Petersburg police, something might be discovered. Matryoshka's parents may still be living in Petersburg. The house, of course, will be remembered. It was painted a light blue color. As for myself, I shall not go anywhere, and for some time, for a year or two, I shall always be found in my mother's estate. If summoned, I will appear anywhere. Nikolai Stavrovich.
The citizen of the canton of Hori was hanged there behind the door. On the table lay a scrap of paper with the words, "One is the volume I did it myself." Beside it on the table lay a hammer, a piece of soap, and a large nail, evidently prepared in case of need. The The strong silk cord with which Strogin had hanged himself had evidently also been prepared and chosen with caution. It was thickly smeared with soap. All this evidence was of premeditation and consciousness of the last minute. The verdict of our doctors after the postmortem was that it was most definitely not the case in the Senate.
Don't you think certain corrections could be made in this document? It does not collapse a little. You seem to wish to make yourself out to be worse than your heart would desire. Some passages in your statements are always right. You seem to be admiring your psychology and clutching at every detail, merely with the intention of surprising your reader by a color sweat, which is not in you. What horrified me was the vast unused energy that was deliberately spent on some abomination. And for the crime itself, many people sin like that, but they live in peace and quiet in their conscience, even considering it. Whenever they will misery of you, they also men sin the same way, not taking it seriously, and regarding it as innocent amusement. The whole world is full of this horror, but you felt no depth of your degradation. It is extremely rare. The horror will be general. Needless to say, more false than sincere. People fear of immortality threatens their interest. I'm not talking about the few souls. They will be horrified inwardly, but they will not be noticed. But they will be silent. But the laughter will be universal. You're not prepared, not hardened. You do not believe. If you believe that you can forgive yourself, then you believe in everything already.
That's psychologist.
Старинный вальс осенний сон играет гармонист. Вздыхают правые спасы и свободно забытии. Сидят и слушают бойцы, товарищи мои. Под этот вальс весенним днем ходили мы на грудь.
that thing? For that?
Oh, I know. That's my favorite.
Sure.
All right.
Here, hold
We get 2 pieces. Oh, wait.
You want to have some of these? Is it just not whole wheat cake or what?
Whole wheat, come on, it's chocolate in it.
No, but what is this?
chocolate.
Oh.
I know.
So really nice, look one piece of meat for you and yours.
Thanks for
Nothing to worry about this time. What?
Hasn't you too?
how it tastes like.
I won't see it. I've done this before. But then it won't be hot. Me and water, they don't drink coffee. Yeah.
I will get my tea top too.
Here, the
And I don't want one.
that's Danny. Okay.
You don't want tea?
That's not yours.
I need tea.
I get some of that. No, that.
I haven't seen it yet, no. Yep.
Nobody even said hello to Rebecca. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah, because everybody wants to talk.
I don't know. You know, it's a brush. You did that? Oh,
Cool.
about the minutes of that on purpose.
This is fun. That's not hard.
Should I really think
That's
that
not
purpose?
hard.
How did you do that? Why did you bring it broken for?
It's broken, wasn't it bigger yesterday?
Yeah, twice as big, one was broken.
Oh.
I thought she did so that
It was a really good game.
It was
It was, it's really cool.
fine.
I'm
What?
Down, that's just so mean. You can come down on Moritz here, and this is Moritz. We wouldn't be jumping unless it was completely convenient.
Too much of this chocolate stuff on it.
Shut up.
Chestnut.
Chestnut.
Chestnut. For Bruce's birthday. That was good.
You know, the way with the
Right, that's good.
You didn't have to say.
Yeah, I was stupid. What's it called? What am I?
I have one thing. I still have the last corner. That's not how last dinner. This one you want. You want some? You
Yeah, none of our dinners like this.
I know it too.
Shouldn't have done that.
Rebecca's in
I'm going again.
You have to come down here for the rest of your life. Jim, you have to come down here for the rest of your life.
When you're 20 years old, you'll still be coming down here every night. Doing it. And you'll still be saying, I want this. I want cake.
I hate you.
I hate chicken.
I need it.
I hate that. Oh, I hate chicken.
I like this.
I like this. Cake. Sweet.
Hey, you said full of blood.
What do you mean get your foot off mine? Get your whole body off me here. I wasn't playing.
Like, dog glasses on your lap.
Come on, you're sitting like shit. Oh, you
It's not your fault.
Really, because nobody's stand upstairs or back down there.
Oh,
in the basement.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm not gonna like that.
There's the places.
You're not gonna go back now.
It's scary, Mama.
Oh,
We tried going down there.
I should have known in time. Yeah. Have you seen what Rebecca did to breakfast food? The modern table, did I
No,
show
she
you that?
just, I
yeah,
saw
the modern
it.
table.
Modern table, that was pretty cool.
Why is it modern?
It's
The pavement.
conceptual.
I've only told you 4,000 million.
That's true. Well, because the early caveman guys, they wouldn't be able to hunt very well, so they wouldn't have like dead animals. Dead animals. Why would you have blood? So pumpkins and mice stuff to eat.
You know what they also did? The early caveman guys made sculptural things and they didn't have that animals.
I couldn't draw, said Rebecca. On the mountain, we can draw. Well, they made pottery in my picture. Yeah, you draw on the mountain.
I like the graffiti on the cake. You get Hawaiian toxics too.
That part, right?
We don't have any. More. Come here, I want something. Please. Please. More, come here. Are you going to be sent out to the basement? More down there. More, really. Serious. Step on it. Serious, brother. Serious matter. Yeah, come here.
You're so nasty, Mom.
Yeah.
You're gonna get this. He's being nasty now. He knows.
You're gonna get this.
Why don't you so fast? More, come here.
Go ahead, Morris, just for a minute.
It's not bad. It's
We're all
not
gonna be
dangerous.
surprised. We're all gonna be
It won't hurt
surprised.
you.
Yo, get on.
I'm gonna go on.
More, it'll be a summer.
Morris, you got a match?
More, please.
Oh, Morris.
Why stay here and do more?
Why don't you do that? Okay, then why don't you play something and more to read?
Morris, see? Then you have to leave.
She's not gone. You're over there.
How come you play some music if you're sitting in his lap?
Yeah, I want music. I love music.
See? Jimmy loves music. He wants music.
It's not Jimmy, it's Simon. No,
It's Jimmy, see?
Jimmy.
See what happens when you don't come to dinner? You miss all these great things that happen.
Like, no, I'm here.
What do you mean? You want your name to be Jimmy? Yeah.
Not Jimmy?
But Jimmy?
I told you and no. Anymore.
You know what Domino means in Spanish? I think it means Friday or Sunday.
Hey, maybe I'll tell you. You're getting good at it. Just
I think you shouldn't smoke cigarettes. Yeah, but I'm gonna.
I'm healthy. I'm finished.
But
Not the truth.
But I
come on, finish the training part.
Yeah, let's watch this.
And I'll see Monday night. We'll I think it's a little more rapid.
What is this? Oh, wow. It's girls.
Rebecca, you
Oh my god, it
so
is.
much.
It is.
The Lord Manning.
No, it's not.
okay, that's the music on the show.
Wow. Good. I have to see that.
Did you go fishing all the time?
I'm going fishing too. Break your heart. You'll sleep well. There's more fish than you.
Many fish bite if you got good bait. Oh, you
That's what's just like.
fish bite when you got good bait. I'm going fishing, yes, I'm going fishing. My baby's going fishing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
I don't want to.
so much.
Well, then it didn't pay any.
I did not ask.
You're welcome.
You have?
Yeah.
And so you don't want any more?
Oh, it's got chicken.
It's coming back.
Oh, wait, mommy, I left no shoes on. You
No, I can carry you to be.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. Doesn't matter, but like, come on.